Yes, hello, it's Joe here for Joyrider TV live from the Joyrider TV classroom, Studio 2. Oh yes, in this session I'm going to be answering any questions that come along. Also, I've got some preloaded questions that people have sent in ahead of time, which I can work through as well. If you're watching this later on, rather than live, live means you're watching it now, which is 3 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon Greek time. If you're watching it later on, then I won't be able to answer your questions in the video, but I will respond to them in the comments, and then perhaps we'll go further in next week's session like this. This will be the last Q&A live at this time. So from next week, I'll be going back to doing the Q&A live at 5:30 Greek time, which would be 4:30 if you're in Europe, or 3:30 if you're in the UK. If you're in America or Australia, anywhere else, you might have to just check out what time that would be for you. And that will be coming from down in the Wildwind Boat Park once again, which is very exciting. The Wildwind Boat Park is starting to take shape. Lovely. Okay, so I think we might just crack on with the first preloaded question. And this one comes from Scott on Patreon. And he says, here we go. Scott's got a Hobie 16. You'll have seen Scott in Show Us Your Cat. I came across a fresh mainsail, hardly used, which has been made by Superior Sails in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Can I use this sail in a Hobie regatta, or are they not class legal? Yeah, unfortunately, if you are going to be sailing in any Hobie 16 class event, or for that matter, any of the Hobie classes, so if it's a Hobie Tiger event, Hobie 14 event, Hobie Wave event, any Hobie event at all, then you should be, well, you have to use sails from Hobie Cat. That's just how it is. But if you're sailing in an event which is perhaps, maybe it's a long distance race where it's mixed handicap, so lots of different types of boat and not necessarily just a Hobie 16 event, then if you contact the organisers ahead of time to check, then I dare say that that should be fine to compete with non-original Hobie sails. I think that's about the size of it. But that also goes for on the Hobie 16 and 14, especially. These classes are quite strict when it comes to international events, especially, and probably if you're in the States, like your regional events or national events, all of the parts of the boat have to be original Hobie. The only things that you can actually change are, I think, you can have rudder blades built by somebody else. You can have a tiller extension that's come from someone else. And of course, the ropes and the blocks could be from somebody else as well, as could the rigging. So there you go. Okay, we've had some hellos coming in. Ollie Smith, he's one of the original Wildwind Rude Boy Joyriders. And if you've been watching any Show Us Your Cat or checked out the speed stick, it's Ollie who's at the front end of the C2 there on an absolutely blistering run. So good to hear from you, Ollie. Look, Ollie's actually going to be here in 2 weeks, which is very exciting. Hello, Oscar. Great to have you on board. Hello, Hutchie. Great Show Us Your Cat episode on Sunday. Thanks. I'm glad you think so or thought so. I wasn't too sure if I was just hitting the self-indulgent button a little bit too hard by featuring Bad Boy 94 in Show Us Your Cat. But it seems like it's been well received. And because it was episode 94, I thought I could get away with it. I have got some other boats waiting in the wings. This Sunday's Show Us Your Cat is going to be pretty spectacular. We've got some very special boats that we are going to be looking at. Oh, yes. Oh, hello, Kurosh. Great to have you with us. That'd be Kurosh in Dubai, I believe. Lil Farmer 07, thanks for tuning in. Hello. From New York. Nice. I'd love to come to New York one day. Looks like an amazing place. Yeah, see you soon, Ollie. Looking forward to it. There's certainly going to be some cold beer on the table, or perhaps more likely in the hand. Oscar, tips for cleaning the trampoline from lines. Tips for cleaning the trampoline from lines. Sorry, Oscar, you'll have to rephrase your question now. I don't quite get what you're asking there. Hello, Rory. I live in Australia. Just got a brand new Hobie 14 mainsail. $2,800 from Hobie Australia. Oh, hold on. Can I do this while we're live? 2800. Okay, just looking at the exchange rate here. Oh, how do I? Right, I might have to abandon ship. This is taking too long. AUS. Right, it's not as straightforward as I thought. Okay, if anybody can tell us what 2,800 Australian dollars is in pounds or US dollars, then we'll know how much that was. But it sounds reasonably juicy. Okay, next in. Ollie, that was Ricky Nielsen just trying to phone. He's obviously not watching the live stream. Perhaps you could get him to tune in live and then I could answer his question in the live stream. Wouldn't that be a lot of fun too? All right, Mauricio in Dallas. Great to have you with us there. Lil Farmer, can you tell me more about the spinnaker and how to fly them? Yeah, that is quite a broad question, but just to give you the nuts and bolts of using a spinnaker on a catamaran or pretty much any boat. The spinnaker is a sail that's generally only used for downwind sailing. So the wind is still where we left it last week. So downwind is going to be kind of like here. So this is, to start with, especially, you only want to be using the spinnaker on a downwind point of sail. The spinnaker would usually be stored either in, that is the fattest spinnaker chute I've ever seen. It would either be stored in the spinnaker chute, or another option, which we don't see so much these days, is the spinnaker can be stored in a bag on the trampoline, which was a that was how all spinnakers were rigged back in the day before it all went back to the chute, incidentally. Then launching the spinnaker, we put the wind behind us, we pull it up, and the spinnaker comes out the side. And basically, the asymmetric spinnaker that we use on catamarans, you fly just like a big jib. Okay, I did. All right. Yeah, so you fly it like a big jib. You don't have a cleat on the spinnaker sheet. And so the spinnaker is moving constantly, just being altered to the differences in the ever-changing wind. Sorry if I seem slightly distracting. I've got one of my colleagues who's trying to contact me and I can't shut my phone up. Yeah, so this is the nuts and bolts of flying a spinnaker. So what you would do is, before you start heading when you start heading downwind, you put the spinnaker up and it will get you there quicker. The spinnaker won't necessarily give you a higher top speed, but it will get you to a downwind destination sooner. So if we're sailing from there to there, we'll get there sooner with a spinnaker, but our top speed will be faster generally without a spinnaker up, perhaps on a beam reach or something similar. Sorry that was a bit waffled. I was a bit distracted. There we go. All right, continuing. Oscar, and could you make a video about how to hide the downhaul in the front beam? Yeah, great one. I've actually this is quite yeah. So for those of you who especially the Hobie 16, 14 sailors, Hobie Wave sailors, Hobie Getaway sailors, probably quite a few of you. On the boats like the Tiger, the Tornado, F-18s and things, we have quite a powerful downhaul system, which, what would it be, like an 8-to-1, maybe a 10-to-1, perhaps even as much as a 12-to-1, which means with that amount of purchase, it means when you pull in the downhaul, to get the sail to move the same amount, you have to pull more rope, which means if you don't have some sort of way of hiding the downhaul rope, then it's going to be all over the place. So what we do on these boats is we make a takeaway system that goes inside the front beam. In fact, Oscar, I've already made a video about this takeaway system. I think if you go on Joyrider TV and search for takeaway system or look in the index of videos, it should be there. But I'll check it out later and I'll put a link in somewhere. I'll send you a link. Yeah, so we put the downhaul rope comes into the end of the beam, and then we have elastic going 5 times up and down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that elastic will pull the rope all the way to the other end of the beam, keeping it tidy. Very nice. Okay. Daniel, hello. We appreciate you showcasing Bad Boy 94. So don't worry about the self-indulgence. Thanks very much, Daniel. It's good to know that Bad Boy 94 was well received on Sunday. Oscar, I meant tips where you can put your lines to have more space in the trampoline. Yeah, I think what I could also do, yeah, and as I said, sorry, we've just picked up a new to us Hobie Tiger and a new to us FX1. So I'm currently in the process of putting those boats together to see what I need to do to them, if they need any parts, that kind of thing. So once I've got this Tiger together, we can have a really good look at how we keep the boat looking tidy. Because obviously on the boat with the powerful downhaul, adjustable mast rotation, the spinnaker, it can get quite cluttered quite quickly if we're not careful. So we can certainly have a good look at that. Good choice. All right. CBob64. I like your username. It's good. Hi, Hobie 16 received, not yet wet. Oh, perhaps soon on Show Us Your Cat. Surely that's not a new Hobie 16. If it's a new Hobie 16, that is possibly one of the most exciting things we've ever heard. But not to say if it's not a new Hobie 16 is not equally exciting, because there's so much history in the Hobie 16, just the colours of the sails and things. You're now going to tell me it's a plain white 1984 Hobie 16. No disrespect to any plain white sailed 1984 Hobie 16 sailors, by the way. All right, there's Tony with the exchange rate. 1 Aussie dollar is 0.76 USD. So there we go. So that's about 2,000 American dollars, I think, that Rory paid for his Hobie 14 mainsail. There you are. Fabio, hi, great to have you with us. Daniel says, so how far upwind can the Jenica or spinnaker be sailed. Yeah, so it basically depends on the wind, the amount of wind, because with the spinnaker, the way we control the power, here we go, let's get our boat back into the picture. That's our bowsprit. The bowsprit is the name of the pole which the spinnaker flies from the end of. So our normal point of sail for sailing with the spinnaker, let's just say, is the broad reach. So sailing in this direction to the wind. If we want more power, we turn towards the wind. And with the spinnaker, especially turning more towards the wind, even in a light wind, we'll get a lot of power very quickly when turning the boat towards the wind. And what would generally happen is as you turn towards the wind, if there's more than, say, 5-6 knots of breeze, the windward hull will come out of the water. You'll start flying the hull. If you turn the boat any closer to the wind, the hull will continue to lift. And if there's like more than 6 knots, maybe 8 knots of wind, you'll actually lift the hull so much that you'd be in danger of capsizing before you get too close to the wind to be able to sheet the spinnaker in enough. So it is very much wind dependent how close you can sail to the wind with the spinnaker. In very, very light winds, so like in those sort of winds when there's only just enough wind to fill the spinnaker with air, then you can actually sail with the spinnaker on a pretty close reach. With the spinnaker sheeted in tight, and only in really, really, really light winds. And quite a few years ago, I think maybe it was in the I can't remember which Olympics it was in, but they started when it was still the tornadoes in the Olympics, they started having these spinnakers made which are called code zeros. A code zero basically is a type of asymmetric spinnaker, but it's a lot flatter. So it means you can sail a lot closer to the wind. So what some of the sailors were doing was putting their code zeros up off the start line and actually sailing upwind with the code zero because the wind was so light that they could do it. But with a general spinnaker in almost no wind at all, you could probably get as high as a close reach, but it possibly wouldn't be, with a normal spinnaker, very efficient to do so. But if you're just out with the spinnaker up having fun, what we generally do is put the spinnaker up down here and then take the boat up towards the wind till we get the hull in the air, then decide how many people you want out on the trapeze. It could be anything between 0 and 2, and then just try to sail with the hull in the air for as long as you can. Great fun. There we go. Oscar, would be nice because on my 20 there is way too much lines. Yeah, so we will certainly be taking a look at that, but I will send you the link to that video that I've already made. Okay, Lil Farmer 07 says, what is the mast rotation for? The mast rotation is basically so that we can use the mast as part of the effective sail area. So on the smaller boats, which perhaps don't have the diamond wires on and they don't have the powerful downhaul, that kind of thing. So like your Hobie 14, 16, Dart 18, etc. The mast rotates, but it's just on a stopper, so it always goes to exactly the same angle. But with the boats with adjustable mast rotation, what they generally got a bit more of a longer section. So the mast is a bit more like a wing with the most that we've got in the boat park is on the sea too. The mast is very long and thin, like deep, long, sort of like a wing. So what we're doing with that wing is we're making that wing part of the sail. So what we're looking, so we can effectively sheet that in and out, as well as sheeting in and out the sail. So what we're looking for is to have a good smooth airflow around the back of the sail especially. So that's how we can use the mast rotation to help us get the best possible airflow. What this will generally mean on most points of sail, we'll control our mast rotation, different colour, I think, using what is called the spanner bar, which would come off the mast something like this. And there'd be a line between the spanner bar and the boom. And where's our boat here? All right. And if this is the leeward hull, what we're looking for with the spanner bar is to have that pointing just behind the shroud. And that will put the mast in the best position for most situations. There we go. Okay. Oscar, do you know anybody who sells his chute for an F18 or F20? Not just now, but we can put it in a video. Crikey, bird just flew into the window. That was quite alarming. Yeah, Oscar, if you email me with where you are and anything else that you're looking for, this goes for everybody else as well. I'm just revving up to make another boats and parts for sale or wanted video. I think this is a great way of reaching the global Total Joyrider TV audience, where I think it's a good way of finding parts for your boat. So if anybody wants me to look for parts or a boat for them, or if you're selling anything, send me an email and I'll put together a short video. That would be great. All right, Daniel says on my 21 I have 3 trapeze lines. Okay, yeah, you could triple trapeze it with the spinnaker up. That would be extremely exciting. You could pretend to be on an 18-foot skiff. Very good. All right, Rory says, can you do more Hobie 14 sailing video, please? Yes, absolutely. As soon as I get that bad boy put together, I will take it out there on the water and see what happens. I'll see if I could come up with some interesting themes, perhaps more on the troubleshooting, tagging, because it's been like a year since I did that the last time almost. So I'll watch that video first and then revisit the troubleshooting, because I think that is a small issue for a lot of people sailing those boats. Oscar says, I also put on 3rd trapeze on my 20, because in a lot of wind, you're hardly able to sail it with 2. All right, Lil Farmer 07 says, I have a Hobie 16 and not trapeze lines. If anybody has seen me, I will look at buying them. Okay, so I think that is Lil Farmer 07 is looking to buy some trapeze lines. Is that correct? Let me know. All right, so I'm just going to go back to the preloaded questions here. So I've got another one from Scott on Patreon. Scott says, I just received my 6-to-1 downhaul. Nice choice. That is one of the best upgrades you can give your Hobie 16, is the 6-to-1 downhaul. And on both blocks, there is a swivel preventer. Now, seems like an easy piece to lose on the beach. Are these a requirement? Are they important? Okay, yeah, this is just something that when you buy any Harken blocks new, I don't know about other brands, but certainly with Harken, you've got the little barrel at the top and the bottom which swivel. And what they come with as standard is a little notch type thing to stop them from swiveling. And that is just a piece. So if you don't want your block swiveling, you keep that fitted and then off you go. But for all of our purposes, with what we're doing with these blocks, those swivel preventers can just be put in the bottom of your toolbox where they can live forevermore, because we won't be using those at all. There we go. Thanks for the questions there, Scott. Okay. All right, Rich says, I must be missing the fun on the Hobie 14. I think you must be. If you're not having the fun on the Hobie 14, then you certainly are missing it. All right, Peter. Hello. Peter in South Africa, great to have you with us. How do I piggyback 2 Hobie 16s on a trailer? Nice. We haven't had any questions like this so far. If you've just got a regular trailer and you want to put 2 Hobie 16s on, it has been a while since I've done this myself. But what we're looking to do is we have to decide whether they're both going to be facing the same way. That is the first hurdle. So let's there's one Hobie 16, and because if we put both Hobie 16s pointing the same way, it might be that the front one is really popping quite a mega wheelie, so it might be necessary to put the top one on backwards. But I think both facing forwards would do it. You just have to be a bit strategic. So the way I'd go about it is to literally, you'd probably need 4 people to put the top one on. If you've got 2 boats, then you should have 4 people. Lift it on to the top boat, get it in a position so that the boat's sitting pretty flat. But then I can see the problem here actually is the rocker in the hull. I'm just sort of thinking as we go along. It's been a very long time since I've played these sort of games. Yes, that rocker in the hull might prevent you from putting one on top. Yeah, which might mean that the top one needs to go on upside down. Now, I think that, yeah, that's going to work much better. So you can get double stacking trailers, which are very useful if you're going to be, or you could get your trailer modified if you're going to be doing this quite a lot, where basically, if we look at the trailer from behind, there's the supports. There's maybe you've got a box in the middle or something, wheels. So you've got your first boat on there. And then what you would have is supports that come up. You might have to remove the trampoline to make it work. And then from those supports, you have the supports to hold the next boat. That is the ideal. That is, thinking about it, that's how we used to do it when we used to double stack 16s on a trailer. We had a double stacking trailer, which of course is built for the job. But without the double stacking trailer, I think the top boat would have to go upside down and facing the other way, so the front beam would come forwards of the wow, drawing an upside down Hobie 16. This is, oh my goodness. All right, that's something like that. But to be honest, you may have spotted this, but I'm just making it up as we go along. I think the best thing you can do is a bit of trial and error. Spend an hour or two, just if you've got 4 people, lift the boat on, see how it looks, and then continue from there. And then just obviously make sure the boats are really well padded in between and strapped super tight together so that there's no movement. Oh, here we go. Hutchie says, top boat upside down, old tyres or similar in between, check trailer tyre load ratings. Nice. Thanks for that, Hutchie, for chipping in there. Yeah, I'm going with that. But if you've got tyres in between, then maybe you can put them both pointing the same way. But I think because the front beam is curved on both boats, it would be quite unstable to have them both pointing the same way. Thanks for tuning in, by the way, everybody. Just a few more hellos here. Oscar says, would you recommend an 8-to-1 or 10-to-1 main sheet because I need a new one on the 20? Pardon me. I would go, what have you been using before? If you've been using an 8-to-1 before and you've been quite happy with the amount of sheet load, then I would stick to the same one. The reason that I don't generally use a 10-to-1 is because of the amount of sheet that you have to play. It's significantly more, which means more rope on the trampoline, probably more rope in the water when you're trapezing, and a lot more in and out. It does make it easier to pull the sheet in, especially when it's windy, but you have to think about how you've been finding it up until now. Now, a good compromise, you're not going to believe this, is a 9-to-1. Ooh, yeah, 9-to-1. I would say go for a 9-to-1. Oh, hi, Pierre. Great to have you with us. Quebec, Canada. We've got Max from Rossenheim. Guten Tag. All right, Peter says, thanks, Joe. And Hutchie. Thanks, Peter. It's good when you get a question that really makes you think like that. All right, Jonathan, I think you're the ultimate Hobie nerd. That's a big compliment. Keep sharing your knowledge. Thanks very much, Jonathan. I'm very happy to be able to help so many people. It's just nice to be able to do. All right, Oscar says, would be nice if I would use a trailer, but it's hardly possible to find one. So I use a full-size truck. Oh, well, that work very nicely. Right, Clive says, anyone after a Hobie 18 Classic? Nice. He's got one going cheap. Clive, you need to let us know where you are, because I think let's see if we can find a buyer for Clive's 18 by the end of this video. Yeah, Clive, let us know where you are, and we'll a classic 18, somebody is going to take that off your hands very quickly if it is in a seaworthy condition. If it's not, there are a lot of people actually actively seeking these restoration projects. Oh, it's got wings. That's the Magnum. Clive is in Surrey, which is in the UK, just to the south of London. So if anybody's in the UK and you're looking for an 18 Classic Magnum, then Clive has got one. Oh, yeah. If we don't sell it, Clive, then just send me an email with the details, maybe some pictures, and I'll put it in a short video. He's got a trailer. Oh, my goodness. Why has nobody made Clive an offer already? This is too good to be true. Oh, my goodness. I can hardly contain myself. In fact, at this point, we're going to just take a quick commercial break. Is it Joyrider TV? Yes, right. TotalJoyrider.com. You may have noticed I'm featured here with a Cat Thiever stripes t-shirt. These are available at TotalJoyrider.com. It doesn't matter where you live. We can get them to you. And even in Australia, I had an order last week and it was delivered, I think, in just over a week. So that's pretty good. All right. Oscar says, are you able to put wings on the 20 Miracle? Well, funny you should ask. I don't. Right. Spoiler alert here, everybody. Sorry to do this to you. But on Show Us Your Cat on this Sunday, that's episode 95, we're actually, Oscar, you're going to love this. we're actually going to be featuring a Hobie 20 with wings, with the Magnum wings from an 18. And this thing is an absolute beast. It's currently sitting at the top of the speed stick as well. So there we go. Oh, nice one, Clive. Yeah, what's it? totaljoyrider@icloud.com. Lovely. All right, I'm just going to dive back into the preloaded questions. All right, I've got a question from William, who says, oh, this is a good one, actually. We haven't had this one before. Can a full aluminium Hobie 18 mast be cut down to replace a Hobie 16 mast? The spreaders would have to go, but curious if before I trade it or give it away. Yeah. Okay. In principle, yes, you could. But the problem is, in fact, let's draw a small picture here because we can. All right. So the Hobie 18 mast is there. Let's say the Hobie 16 mast is there. Now, on both masts, we're gonna need this fitting, which is called the hounds. The hounds is the fitting where all of the rigging attaches. So your shrouds, your forestay, your trapeze wires. Now, these, of course, are going to be in a different place. So the logical thing, if we had to turn one mast into another mast, then the ideal way to do it would actually be to line the hounds up so that the hounds are in the right place, because that hounds fitting is actually attached by, I think, something like 16 pot rivets, which you really don't want to be drilling 16 pot rivets out of your mast and then drilling another 16 holes in the mast in one place, because that's going to make a real weak spot where that fitting used to be. So lining the hounds up would be the first step. Of course, the spreaders and all of that would have to go from the Hobie 18 mast, but you can actually take the spreaders off without having to take the bracket off. So that saves you some rivets to take out. And then we'd have to cut the top of the mast off and the bottom of the mast, make sure they're sealed. You get a foam plug to seal the mast and then a plastic plug, 2 plugs each end, and then the fittings. And this is also because I haven't actually seen a Hobie 18 Classic for a long time. This is also depending on if the 2 masts have got the same section. When I say section, I mean like if we look straight down the mast, the section would be when we're looking down it, that's the mast track there. So if the sections are the same, then in principle, yes, we could do it, but you could probably find a second-hand, a used Hobie 16 mast. I'd say if you look around and keep looking around, I'd say within a month, or even if you let me know and I put the word out that we're looking for a 16 mast, I would say you could probably find one for, I don't know, $150 maybe, which is going to be a lot more straightforward than this. As we've said about masts before, it is absolutely critical that your mast is sealed, doesn't take any water in. Otherwise, if you invert your boat, the mast fills with water and the boat becomes pretty much impossible to bring upright. So there we go. All right, back on the live chat. Hope everyone's having a good time. All right, where are we? All right, Yasupano, how you doing, man? When are you back on the water? I think I've got this feeling that perhaps I might head out the weekend. Yeah, I've now got in various states of construction in the boat park. I've got 2 Hobie 16s, got an FX1 and a Tiger, all in various stages of construction in the boat park. And I think we'll get the 16 out shortly, which would be nice. All right, and actually that's what Oscar says again, that when you start to sail again down in Greece. Oscar's starting this weekend. Only 10 degrees. Ouch. I actually went windsurfing on Monday. It was really windy. It was probably about getting on for 30 knots in the gusts. So I went out windsurfing and it was really good fun. I thought windsurfing probably a better option than taking the boat out because single-handed, Hobie 16, 30 knots, not really allowed out. Probably someone might raise an eyebrow if they had to send out the Coast Guard. All right. Peter says, another curveball. How can I stop electrolysys on anodized hounds? All right. I believe so. This electrolysys is basically what happens when you put the stainless steel against the aluminium. It's a chemical reaction, which is apparently this chemical reaction is sped up with the addition of salt water. We've had some absolutely horrible stuff going on between like the stainless plates and the aluminium. And what I'm told, the way to get around it is to there needs to be like a barrier cream between the stainless and the aluminium, and that will solve the problem. But if the problem has already started, then what can we do? Can we take the fitting off, clean it up, put some barrier cream on, put the fitting back on if it hasn't gone too far? But what we actually had to do was to get some we had to send all of our masts away which had this problem, and some donor mast material from snapped masts. And then there's a chap in Thessaloniki in Greece who I didn't even know you could, but he basically welded all these holes shut and you can't even see that there's been a hole in it. So that is how we recovered from this situation. Anyway, so thanks, Peter. I hope that helps a bit. All right. Hello, Herbert. Herbert says Earth. Oh, Earth. I see he's answering Peter's question there. You have to earth it, I think he's saying. All right. Oscar says 30 knots are single-handed too much, but with 3 people, it's fun. Yeah, I would say 2 people, 3 people, you're going to be putting someone in the washing machine and they're going to really enjoy that amount of cleansing in the face. Oh, and Oscar says, Peter, I can recommend Lano coat. There you go. Everybody's helping each other. This is what it's all about. All right, back to the preloaded questions. Oh, this is following from the, I uploaded, I think it was yesterday. I think it was yesterday, a 1-minute daggerboard video. And I've got Steve. Steve has been with us since Joyrider TV started. So Steve, thanks very much for staying with us for that many years. And he said, with the daggerboards, if you don't have daggerboards, what exactly would it be like to sail the boat? So a boat which is designed to have daggerboards, if you sail it just with the daggerboards out completely, what's going to happen is, firstly, where will it be okay? It will be absolutely fine going downwind, except in the hulls where the daggerboards would have been, there's, of course, holes or slots. And what you'll get is the water sloshing up through those slots, which isn't going to be much fun to start with. Then as you turn closer to the wind from dead downwind without putting any daggerboards down, the boat is just going to get blown sideways, because the daggerboard is there to stop the boat going sideways. So take that out and there's nothing to stop the boat going sideways. This will very much vary depending on the type of boat. Like we looked at last week or the week before, the different hull shapes. Different boats with daggerboards can have quite different hull shapes. Like the classic 18, you've got something like that looking from behind. So you'll have a fair amount of boat in the water, so it will go downwind quite a bit. It will get blown sideways quite a bit, but not nearly as much. But at the other end of the scale, we've got, let's say, the FX1, not the best picture, which is almost completely flat on the bottom, and that's where the water would be. So that thing is going to just go sideways like an absolute witch. You won't be able to tack without the daggerboards. In fact, here's one for you. How about, once we're back on the water, I'll go sailing on different boats which are meant to have daggerboards without the daggerboards and see if we can get around a triangular course. How about that? That sounds like a fun video. But that is what's going to happen. You're just going to go sideways a lot. All right, back to live. All right, Toot. Hello, Toot. He says, how does a ginger not explode into flames with as much time in the sun? All right. I think what Toot is saying is it appears that Joe from Joyrider TV has got slightly red coloration in the genetics, and how is it that I can spend so much time in the sun and not get absolutely baked? What I discovered about don't know how long ago, maybe 10 years ago, maybe a bit more, 15 maybe, is there's a sun cream called P20, which up until I started using that, I was bursting into flames most days. But when I started using P20, it was like an absolute game changer and didn't burst into flames anymore. All right, now Toot has followed up by saying Hobie 17. Have I got the wrong... Have I just totally got the wrong end of the stick with Toot's question? Who can say? He said Hobie 17. So have you got a ginger Hobie 17 and you don't want that bursting into flames? All right. We've gone off on one here. All right. Herbert says, Earth, I lost something. Okay. All right. Oscar, back on the Lano coat. Oh, here we go. A question from Oscar. From which companies are your wetsuits? Yeah, most of the wetsuits that I use now are from Mystic, which is it's more of a kind of windsurfing and kite surfing brand, but they are very effective and very lightweight, well built, and they last, which is nice. All right, Toot says different daggerboard, Hobie 17. All right, so yeah, the Hobie 17 would be somewhere, I think would be somewhere between here, because the Hobie 17's got quite a shallow hull. Not only that, it is very low volume, and those small daggerboards on the centerboards on the 17 really do so much to stop it just going sideways, to give it that stability that it needs. So I think sailing the Hobie 17 without the centerboards is going to be equally challenging. I think perhaps even more challenging than the FX1 without centerboards because the rig on the 17 Classic, let's call it, is so much more powerful. It carries a lot more mast rake than on the FX1, so it's going to be difficult. We've got Keith on board. Hello, Keith. Never a good idea getting baked in the sun. Oh no, don't get baked in the sun. Not today. That would probably be, Keith is currently in his hammock somewhere, having a lovely time. All right, we've got Iron Horse. Hello, Iron Horse. Trouble with putting the Hobie 16 in irons in light wind. Yeah, this could come from a number of different places, but usually getting stuck in irons would come from perhaps too much main sheeting. If the boat isn't moving forwards and you haven't got good grip with the rudders, you get grip with the rudders by moving forwards, as could be reasonably obvious. If a boat isn't moving forwards and you've got too much main sheet in, then this is going to pull you into the wind. And then if you keep the main sheet tight, you're not going to be able to get away from the wind. So if we just have a look at boat not moving and the actual kind of function of the sails, what the sails do. And this is how to get out of irons as well. So on our boat, if we've got a general pivot point here, let's say this is where our general pivot point is, any pressure that we put behind the pivot point is going to bring the front of the boat. So we're pushing there, boat's pivoting there. That's going to bring the front of the boat up into the wind, which means, so how are we putting pressure on behind the pivot point? We are pulling the mainsail in too tight, and that is going to bring the boat up into the wind. And unless we let the main sheet out, the boat is not going to be able to get away from the wind. Yeah, so that's point number one. It's largely about the main sheet. So if you're getting stuck into the wind a lot, like during a tack, for example, just focus on the main sheet. This is singly the most important thing that there is when it comes to stalling and getting stuck in irons or head to wind. If you've let the main sheet out and you still can't get away from being in irons, let the traveller out as well and really get the mainsail as far out as possible so that there's very little pressure in the mainsail, and then that will make it a lot easier to get out of head to wind. Of course, we've got the jib as well, and the jib has the opposite effect because it's in front of the pivot point. So if we've got the jib in, that is pulling the front of the boat away from the wind. Because the jib is smaller, it doesn't have as much of an effect as the mainsail, but we can use the jib to get us out of irons as well. So the ultimate guide to getting out of irons is totally release the main sheet and traveller, pull the jib in tight. In fact, you could even pull the jib onto the wrong side of the boat, and then that's going to pull you away from the wind very effectively. If you're getting stuck in irons when you're tacking, this will be firstly because probably the main sheet is moving at the wrong time or not moving at all. But the main sheet during a tack, before you go into the tack, crank that bad boy in as tight as it will go. And then as soon as you're head to wind, let it out completely loose. And that way you're not going to get stuck head to wind. Also with the tack, the other thing which is essential is make sure that your tacking angle isn't too big. So if this is upwind on that tack, this is upwind on this tack, we want to make sure that we've only got to turn through this angle. If you're not this close to wind going into the tack, like for example, if you're sailing a bit more on a beam reach and you try tacking from the beam reach, you've got a huge angle to turn before you even head to wind, which really does bring up the chance of stalling the boat. So there you go, Iron Horse. I hope that helps a bit. Okay, just going back a little bit. All right. Sickroft, hi, great to have you with us. All right, Oscar says, you mentioned earlier the new Tiger. Would it be possible to do a live stream while you're working on the downhaul and so on? Whew. This is the yeah, possibly. I think what I might do, because having tried to do live when we first started doing the live streams, when I was putting this time last year, when I was putting the 16 together in stages, what it actually meant was a task that would normally have taken 20 minutes took over an hour and a half. So what I will do is I will fit all of this stuff to the boat, and then once I've fitted it, I'll then make another video to just really make it very clear how I went about doing it, rather than doing it as a live stream. Because the thing with the live is I'm going to get stopped every 12 seconds with another question, and perhaps questions that aren't even related to the topic that we're looking at. So there we go. By the way, on Patreon, you can sign up for, what is it called? Gold Fleet. If you sign up for Gold Fleet on Patreon, then you can actually do a live one-to-one, just me and you, using a video thing where we could do exactly that. But I haven't got time to do that, obviously, with everybody who has got the different needs. But I can certainly make a video about that to back up the video that's already there. Clive says, I need a Joyrider TV sticker for the new van, which is black. Are there new colours coming? Yeah, I can see how black sticker on a black van isn't really going to pop. All right, I will keep that in mind. All right, Iron Horse, I understand. Thanks. All right, nice one, Iron Horse. Thanks for coming along. I think it's the first time we've had you here, especially in the comments. Anyway, Oscar says, during the tack, I would always let the that must be the jib at the wrong side until you have finished the tack. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. When you're tacking, don't pull the jib across too soon, because especially if you're having a lot of experience stalling the tacks, make sure you've got, as soon as you pass through head to wind, make sure you've got 0 main sheet on, but the jib still on the original side. And there you're going to be in this situation where the jib's really pulling you away from the wind. And then as you become more confident with your tacks, you can start to refine them, looking at bringing the jib across a bit sooner, perhaps not letting out quite as much mainsail. When you do bring the jib across, don't bring the jib across by pulling the new sheet. Better to kind of fly the jib across just by dumping the old sheet, and then the wind should blow it across, and then gently bring her in. That's how she likes it. Right. Toot. Hobie 17 with Whirlwind R+, and a jib 18, a jib from a Prindle 18. Too much? I don't think so. I think the more the merrier there, Toot. I should go for it. Bullthrush, hi. Great to have you on board. All right, if we could cease fire on the questions now, because we've been going for 1 hour, and I've just got the last of the preloaded questions to go through. Hope everybody's had their questions answered. All right. Got a question from Gunny Duns. He says, I was wondering if I could hear your thoughts on inflatable catamarans. Yes, you can. I really knew pretty much nothing about inflatable catamarans apart from the classic catapult, which is very much a, I think it's a British design from the 80s. That was and it wasn't really a true inflatable because it had quite a bulky metal frame, which meant it wasn't that compact. But since doing Show Us Your Cat, we've seen quite a few mini cats, and I should really know some other brand names of inflatable cats, but definitely the mini cat is one that has really popped out. And to be honest, I think these things are absolutely brilliant. And what they're addressing is, for me, is two things. One is storage capability. Not everybody has a sailing club where it's within a reasonable distance, where you could leave your boat in the boat park, just turn up, pull the sail up, off you go. Not everybody has got that amount of space or that facility. And a lot of these small cats, like these mini cats, they go into bags which are just a little bit bigger than a normal suitcase. How handy is that? You could keep one in the back of your car, and say maybe you finished work a little bit early, you could just go down to the nearby lake or something, pump it up, and then off you go. Lovely. The other thing is, so it's storage and the ease of the transport of these boats, which is absolutely golden. And then, of course, you're not going to get the same sort of performance that you'll get with a boat with rigid hulls. They're always going to be quicker. But I believe the technology in these inflatable boats is getting better and better all the time. Oh, here we go. We've got some inflatable cats coming in. The Grabner cat. The catapult, which I mentioned there, Hutchie, yeah, that was, the catapult was really quick, but it did have the metal frame and these big plastic nose cones to really cut through the water. All right, Oscar says, bought one some months ago and love it because you store it in 2 small bags. Amazing. Oh, the Smart Cat, the Tacker Cat from Keith there. Keith with some unexpected inflatable catamaran knowledge. I believe we've got Mr. Google on board, perhaps. It's great to take out the inflatable when it's too windy for the 20. Yeah, so I'd say 100% for the inflatable cats. I did actually get in touch with the guys from Mini Cat. God, I hope it was Mini Cat. I'm pretty sure it was. To see if they'd want to get one out here for me to do some tests on. And but unfortunately, they weren't in a position to do that. But I'm very excited with this totally different type of catamaran, which people are enjoying. And as I can see from the enthusiasm in the comments. Okay. All right. I've got another question preloaded. This is from Matt in New Zealand. All right. This is deep. All right. He's got real trouble racing upwind. Pointing and speed upwind. I believe this is obviously local terminology. He says getting shafted every time. He's tried everything. He's thinking of buying new sails for his boat, but the question is, would it be worth it because the boat's quite old? Would new sails be like a silver bullet and put him up the fleet and give him similar performance to everyone else, or not? The original sails in New Zealand are extremely expensive. Are aftermarket sales worse because they're so much cheaper? And Or the other option is to sell the boat, but then he's not sure if he gets another boat, he'll have the same problems with that boat as well. All right then, Matt. So, yeah, I feel your pain, man. I've been shafted going upwind more times than I'd care to remember in pointing and boat speed. The first issue that I've had that I can address before we look at changing the sails and that kind of thing is, what is your combined crew weight? Is it significantly more than the people that you're racing against? If it is, then in the lighter wind, you're going to suffer. It's just the way that things are. And this is what's happened to me quite a lot in the Tornado class and the Tiger racing beforehand, more so in the Tornadoes. If the wind's light, then we're getting both shafted and routed upwind for pointing, and we can go as fast as the other boats, but we definitely can't point as high. If you're heavy on the boat, that is going to affect you. And then there are many subtleties in the lighter winds of your main sheet position. Have you got the traveller central or out a little bit? How much tension in the jib sheet? Of course, then mast rake, all that kind of thing. But Matt has said that he's actually had the top guys at the club set his boat up. So this would be my suggestion before pulling the trigger on a new set of sails or changing the boat completely. Next time you go out racing, I get the impression that you're good mates with the other guys who are racing 16s at your club. So perhaps see if between races you could even swap boats. See if you can have a go just for 5 minutes on someone else's boat, do a mock start, line the boats up, sail off upwind, and if the guy who was beating you upwind on his boat is now beating you upwind on your boat, then I think we can see where the issue lies. But if then suddenly on his boat you're like a rocket, then I think it's time to start looking at some sort of purchase, or when you get back, really take a real analytical look at the two boats next to each other and see how you go. Another thing you could do is perhaps before buying new sails, see if anybody's got some sails that you could borrow just to go out for one race meeting as well, so that you're not doing anything too extreme before going shopping, which would be very disappointing if you went and bought some new stuff and you still had exactly the same problems. There we go. I hope that helped, Matt. And I really do feel your pain. There's nothing worse than just for no seeable reason other boats going faster than you and pointing higher. That is real pain. Yeah, thanks, Hutchie. I think it sounds like a good idea. It will certainly put some light on it and give you an idea of where the problem lies. And yeah, I think that's what we are looking at. Toot is in Central Texas. He uses whirlwind sails all the way. I believe the whirlwind sails, weren't they the ones which are in California made by, is it Chip, who used to work in the Hobie Cat sail loft? Lake Buchanan. Nice. Excellent. We want to see your 17 on Show Us Your Cat, Toot. Yes, it is Chip. Yeah, that's, you see, I can still remember a few things. The wife says otherwise. Anyway, my last preloaded question is from Scoop. This is a nice one to finish on. And Scoop says, what is your favourite boat to sail and why? I think we have perhaps walked down this path before, but my favourite boat to sail, as any regular Joyrider TV watchers will probably have guessed, is the Hobie 16 when it is 25 knots or more. The Hobie 16 is so much fun. It's the things I love about the 16 It's really simple. You've only got, you've not got more than you need. You've only got what you need. You've got the jib sheet, the main sheet, the associated travellers, and then there's little bits you can do, like the jib halyard and the downhaul would be the next controls, and that is all there is. That is number one why I like the 16. Number two is, of course, the way the 16 feels. The power to weight ratio on the 16 gives it such a lot of get up and go, especially in a breeze. That thing just hammers. And the other thing is the speed you can get from a 16, as we've seen, is phenomenal. And it does require a lot less technique and sort of clenching the cheeks to get that sort of speed out of 16 compared to anything else, where it's like proper knife edge stuff. But the 16 is just great. And the other good thing with the 16 is you can sail with anybody who, and regardless of their level of experience, get them out on the trapeze. And if they've never done it before, what an amazing experience for anybody. Oh, Scoop's on here with us. Oh, Scoop, just answering your question here. What do you think of adding a spinnaker onto the Hobie 16? I would say only if you're looking at doing some long distance sailing. For racing, or if you're just blasting around a local area, going out when it's windy, I'd say don't do it, because it adds a lot of weight and a lot of windage to the boat. But if you're sailing some serious distance and you want to go further afield, then the spinnaker is going to help you to get that sort of distance. It's going to really give you more range. That is what I meant to say. But it doesn't stop at the Hobie 16. I, of course, absolutely love the Tornado. And up until those conditions where the 16 gets into the sweet spot, if I'm sailing with two people, then the Tornado is definitely number one. So like in 18 knots of wind, there is nothing as good as a Tornado for me. There we are. Okay. All right, Mathan, can you do a video in a foiling catamaran? Thanks for everything. Yeah. I tell you what, as soon as I get my hands on a foiling catamaran, there'll be so many foiling catamaran videos that you'll ask me to actually stop making so many foiling catamaran videos. But the answer is yes. But currently we don't have a foiling catamaran, and we're not due to be getting one this year due to times are tight, you know. But when we do get a foiling catamaran, oh yes, and thrice, oh yes. All right, and this is going to be the last question from Oscar. Are you a bigger fan of up and down courses or long distance racing? I've never actually thought which I prefer. All my best results have been in long distance racing, but the course racing is very exciting as well. Yeah, it's a tough one. I think I really like the long distance races. I think, yeah, I would go long distance. The difference is long distance is really good if you're doing well. If you're doing badly in a long distance race, it's not like you could be thinking, all right, well, we'll finish this one and then we'll try to do a bit better in the next one. It's kind of like you're betting everything into one thing. Whereas in a series of course races, you're doing maybe in the same day, you're having 4 smaller bets rather than just one big bet. But fortunately, I've done well in the long distance racing. So that is definitely what I'm into a bit more. And Alan says, long live the Hobie 18. And if you hadn't heard, there is a Hobie 18 Classic for sale. Good price. Clive in Surrey is selling, Surrey in the UK, selling a Hobie 18 Classic with Magnum wings and a trailer. Let's kite a cat. Oh, yes. I am definitely into kiting a cat. I just exploded my kite on Monday though, so just got to send that away to be repaired before I can kite a cat, but that is on the cards. Thanks very much everybody for tuning in. Before you leave, if you could just do me a favor, hit the like button. If you want to support Joyrider TV, head over to totaljoyrider.com and get yourself the Cat Fever stripes t-shirt like this, available in other colors other than blue. And if you want to have the stripes t-shirt but with your sail colors and your type of boat, I can do it. We'll do that. But thanks very much, and see you next. Remember, next Wednesday the Q&A will be at a later time. We're going back to 5:30 Greek time, which is 2.5 hours later than what we have been doing over the winter. So I will make sure that I remind you on that. Okay, thanks guys, and yeah, stay safe out there and give it the beats.